Hey guys, Matt with CJ Off-Road here. Now today I'm going to cover a question that is often disputed all over the forums and all over Facebook and even Instagram, and is what size gear do I need to go with what size tire? Now what I mean by that is what size should I be re-gearing in my differentials to go with a certain size wheel and tire onto a JL or Gladiator. Now I've dealt with this a lot and gotten a lot of questions on YouTube, and I've seen them all over the forums, and I just want to give my perspective on what type of re-gearing you should do for what size tire, especially when it comes down to what type of off-roading you're going to be doing, if it's overlanding, if it's true rock crawling, or if it's just going to be daily driving, to help you get the most out of it. And remember guys, this is just for the JL and Gladiator, so we're not talking about JK, TJ, YJ, anything like that. And just to give you a heads up, we're going to be talking about 5 different ratios, and they are a 410, a 456, a 488, a 513, and then lastly a 538. They each have their own perspective and advantages and disadvantages of each. But let's start off with the 410 and we'll go into it now. So the 410 gear ratio is one of the most common and popular options. It comes factory in the Rubicons. In most of them, some of them come with a 373, but in most of them they come with a 410 gear ratio. In my Gladiator Rubicon behind me, I've got a 410 gear ratio as well as an 8-speed transmission. That's going to be great for my 33-inch tires and probably up to a 35-inch tire as long as I'm overlanding with it. Now, if you're going to be stepping up to a 35 or a 37-inch tire, a 410 gear ratio is not going to do it for you, even if you have the 6-speed manual transmission. With the 8-speed, you can wind it out a little bit further. However, it is not going to be enough. I'd recommend a 410 gear ratio if you're going to be keeping a factory stock Rubicon, whether it be a Gladiator or a JL, and you're not going to be doing some crazy off-roading. This is going to be perfect if you have a 33-inch or a 35-inch tire if you're overlanding. But overall, this is great for a 33, and it should be kept relatively stock, and I'd only recommend re-gearing to a 410 if you have other model Gladiators or JLs if you plan on keeping a 33 or a 35. Do not waste the money on re-gearing to a 410 if you don't plan on going to higher sizes. Only use that money if you plan on staying at a 33 or 35. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be a 456. So the next gear ratio is going to be a 456. And I did run that on my JK before, but today's video we're not talking about JKs at all. In the JL and the Gladiator, a 456 is going to be great for a 35-inch tire, regardless if you have the 8-speed transmission or the 6-speed manual. Even with the diesel, that 456 is going to turn that 35 great in crazy rock crawling situations, and it'll turn a 37 really nicely if you're going to be doing overland and more daily driving. However, going from, say, a stock 345 that comes common in a lot of the sport Gladiators and sport Wranglers up to a 456, you're really going to get a lot of that highway speeds back and not have to feel like you're revving out each gear. Now what I mean by that is if you're in your gear, say you're in first gear, and you do have a lower gear ratio, you got a 345, and you mash down on that pedal, you are really going to have to go up to that maximum RPM before it shifts to really get the most power out of each gear. 456, like I said, perfect for a 35-inch off-roading and a 37-inch if you're going overland. We'll get to the next one, that's a 488. Now the next gear we'll talk about is a 488 gear ratio. Now with this one, you are starting to get into some larger tires, and you're going to be seeing a lot more off-road time than you are on-road time. You're probably about at a 50-50 split at this point, and I'd recommend a 488 gear ratio if you have a 37-inch tire for off-road, and I'd probably keep it at a 37-inch for overlanding. At a 488, you're not going to be doing pretty much anything more than a 37 for overlanding. 40-inch tires aren't really that common in the overlanding scene. However, on an off-roading and a rock crawling situation, a 48 is going to be great for a 37-inch tire, as it's going to spin it a lot easier than that factory 345 or even a 410 out of a Rubicon. Now the biggest thing that you guys want to make sure when you are re-gearing is it is an expensive process, and it does take a lot of complicated tools unless you know how to do it yourself or have someone that can help you do it. I'd recommend making sure definitively on what size tire that you're going to be staying really close to in the future. So if you're going at a Rubicon, you have a 410, and you think that one day you're going to be going to 40s, you might want to stick to a 488 or even a little bit higher of a gear ratio to make sure that you're re-gearing it once. Once you're there, you're good to go, you've got everything buttoned up, and you can be comfortable at around that same tire size. You might lose a little bit of speed if you go up a little higher, but with re-gearing, it is normally expensive, so definitely think about what tire size you're going to go to first and really have that in a firm location before you spend all the money to change up your axle gearing. So the last two gear ratios I'm going to talk about are actually the 513 and a 538 gear ratio. And the reason I'm combining these is that once you get to this point, you're going to be doing a lot more extreme rock crawling. And I've actually seen the 513 a lot more common in the past few years, as a 40-inch tire is becoming the modern 35. Everyone is running 40-inch and even larger, up to 42s and 44s on Jeeps. And once you get to that point, you need to be thinking about all your gearing and really how you're putting power down to those wheels. I will tell you guys this, if you're planning on re-gearing to a 513 or a 538, you might want to start thinking about an aftermarket axle solution. We offer them here at CJ Pony Parts, and you can go on and actually build them exactly to your spec. The reason I say that is because, as I mentioned before, with a 513 gear ratio, there are going to be more teeth. So in order to have a 513 to 1 gear ratio, meaning that that pinion is turning it 5 times for one rotation of that ring gear, there are a lot more teeth on that ring gear and even the pinion gear to make it do all that with one rotation. So what I'm saying there is that with smaller teeth, you don't get the same strength as you do with, say, a 345 gear, because you have some more wider open space to help that pinion spin. It's a lot of technical information here, but once you get up to a 513 and 538, the teeth are going to be more narrow and closer together, making them weaker. Now, if you run a 40-inch tire and really start chirping on the rocks and getting a lot of preload on that, it can really rip up some ring and pinions. So basically, once you go up to a larger axle assembly, you can get a larger ring gear, which will give you more space for larger teeth and also allow you to run a 513 or 538 without having to sacrifice the spacing of the teeth as well as the size of them. What I'm saying, guys, is that this is a really important decision, and you should definitely watch this video and hear what I have to say, personal opinions about it, but do your research on this. There are a lot of nice infographics online that you can actually Google, and it'll show you the exact RPM you'll be running at the certain tire size with a certain gear size. So that'll keep you in a nice location for while you're on the highway, but these are all personal recommendations and what I've seen owning a JL with a Hemi and a 37, owning a Gladiator, Rubicon, and a lot of other Jeeps that I've owned in the past. Now, if you want to check out re-gearing kits, axle assemblies, and everything that you need, including wheels and tires for your rig, be sure to drop by cjponyparts.com, as we have a wide array of all that, and you can order it and have it shipped right to your house. Now, if you want to stay up to date on all these informational videos, as well as great install videos and the Gladiator build that I have right behind me, definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you don't like what you're seeing, you can always hit unsubscribe in the future, and you won't have to watch me anymore. Until next time, guys, I hope you're staying safe and staying home, and I'll see you out on the trail.